Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay out there? Great, thank you. My name is Lori Severson, and I'm president of the Edina Chamber of Commerce and Explore Edina. And I'd like to welcome you to our annual State of the Community event. It's great to see everyone here and in person, and I'm not sure how many people we have online, but I think we have a few of you. So thank you all for joining us today. Before I turn it over and we get the program rolling here, I have a couple of thank yous. And we have several partners in this program, and of course, we have the City of Edina and their entire staff, but I'd like to point out and give special thanks to Jennifer Benarat and her communications team. You know, every year they pull this together. They put a lot of time and effort into this, so thank you very much. Edina Public Schools, thank you for your participation and involvement in this event. It's always wonderful to have the three legs of the stool, and I know so many of you have heard this story before, but when I first came to Edina, it was drilled into my head, the concept of the three-legged stool. The Edina Chamber of Commerce, Edina Public Schools, and the City of Edina. And that we may not always agree on things, but the one thing that we do agree on is we want to do what's best for this community. So I appreciate their continued support. I'd also like to thank the two Rotary clubs, Edina Morningside and the Rotary Club of Edina. It's great to see everybody here. I love those joint events. And I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Excel Energy. Thank you very much for being here today and for feeling that this was important enough for you to participate. So before I hand it off to the city, I'd like to introduce Michael Stanzik, and he is with the Rotary Club of Edina, and he is president. Michael?
Lori, I would kindly disagree with you that there's a four-legged stool in the city of Edina, the fourth one being the Rotary Club.
I would agree with that.
There you go. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jim, did you know I get the pleasure of introducing the elected officials that are here today? And we're going to start with you. Well, we're so glad you're here, Jim. And in addition to Mayor Jim Hovland, who will be speaking to us in a few minutes, we have Senator Melissa Lopez Franzen. We also have State Representative Heather Edelson, City Council members Ron Anderson, Carolyn Jackson, and James Pierce. And then we're fortunate to have Edina School Board members Erica Allenberg, Dan Aram, Karen Gabler, Julie Green, who rumor has it got Brad Hepp through high school. I don't know about that. Janie Shaw, and Hennepin County Commissioner Chris Latenza. Thank you all for being here today, and I would also like to take a moment to do something at the start of our event that we typically do at the end of the event, and that is to thank the Edina Country Club staff who served us lunch today, and the City and School District Communications team that helped put together a great presentation today. Now I'll turn it back over to Edina Chamber of Commerce President Lori Severson.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, to kick us off today, I'd like to introduce you to Edina City Manager Scott Neal, and he's going to get the show rolling here. Scott?
Thank you, Lori. Let's see here. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our 2022 State of the City. I'm Scott Neal. I'm the City Manager in Edina, and happy to be your MC today. You know, for 2 long years, our national and local response to our pandemic has relied in large part on keeping people away from each other. We learned to call it social distancing We did it because of our personal concern for others. We did it because authorities asked us to, and we did it really a lot of folks did it out of fear. But right now we're entering a new, what I hope is a lengthy interlude in our long-term relationship with COVID-19. New infections and hospitalizations are way down. This allows us to gather together today and celebrate the state of our community under the banner of One Town, One Family. It's a great feeling to be able to MC today, and when our two keynoters are excited to be able to share our community accomplishments with you and goals for the future. So let's get going. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Stacy Stanley. Stacie is the Edina Public Schools Superintendent. Dr. Stanley began her tenure as Superintendent of Edina Schools on July 1st, 2021. Since joining the Edina community, she's immersed herself in all aspects of the city and serves on the Edina Chamber Board and is a member of the Edina Morningside Rotary. Dr. Stanley has served in a variety of education roles, including math teacher, school principal, director of curriculum, assessment, instruction, and support services. Prior to her recent appointment, she served as the associate superintendent of Eden Prairie Schools. She earned a doctoral degree from Bethel University in St. Paul, where she researched the impact of intercultural development on K-6 administrative leadership practices. Dr. Stanley enjoys research and writing. She's the co-author of a best-selling book on women in leadership and served as a contributing author for a text that highlights best practices for engaging diverse communities. She is a doctoral program adjunct faculty member and an advisor at Bethel University and serves on the advisory board for Hamlin School of Education. She lives with her husband and enjoys being an empty nester, power walking, and spending time with her grandchildren. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Stacy Stanley.
Good afternoon. How are all of you? It is fabulous to be here in a space of one town and one family. So important. I also want to thank Scott for that introduction. I appreciate that. And I'd like to thank Mayor Hovland for inviting me today. I appreciate that. Also, Jennifer, where are you? Thank you so much for all of your planning to make this happen. You just made my life a lot easier, and so we truly appreciate that. I was going to introduce our board members, but they already got introduced, and so I don't need to do that. I do have members of my cabinet here, though, and I'm going to invite them, if they're here, to stand up, because I'd like them to be recognized for all of the amazing work that they've been doing. And so, Dr. Randy Smelzel. Val Burke. Jody D. St. Hubert. And I'm not certain if Jeff Jorgensen was able to make it today, but he's our Director of Student Support Services. Well, I am absolutely delighted to be able to speak with you. You ask a superintendent to come and speak about her district, and she jumps right up. The first 8 months have been a memorable and invigorating experience. I am grateful for many things, and mostly that we have had our Edina Hornets in school, in person, 5 days a week, and with limited disruptions, even during the Omicron surge. We have my cabinet and administrative team to thank for that. During the surge, they collectively developed a plan that was specific, it was measurable, it was attainable, it was definitely realistic, and it set the time for the surge. This, coupled with the ongoing partnership with the City of Edina, really helped to make the difference. My duty as a superintendent is to partner with local agencies and their leaders to make certain our goals are met, including during the surge when we're trying to keep our students in school And Mayor Hovland and Scott, I truly appreciate the partnership. Again, thank you. From the onset, I've said to my team that we needed to walk and chew gum at the same time. To manage the impact of the pandemic through transparency, we rolled up our sleeves to implement key aspects of our strategic plan, and I am proud of them for what we've established and implemented to date. So our mission in Edina Public Schools, our vision is that each and every student would discover their possibilities and thrive. We know that a strong school system is the foundation of a strong community. Our vision serves as our guide for everything that we do to meet our goal of defining excellence. At the core of excellence is being in a strong fiscal position. We are proud to be one of just 3 school districts in the state to receive Moody's AAA rating, meaning that our credit is judged to be the highest quality, subject to the lowest level of credit risk. This is important, as our bonds are sold at interest rates that are very low, which is beneficial for Edina property taxpayers. Absolutely, that's worth the clap. In May, our community once again supported the learning of Edina Public Schools students by passing the tech levy at a 70% voter approval level. The monies have had an immediate impact on our students. In order to ensure technology access for each of our students, especially those who did need to quarantine, we were able to shift all students to a one-to-one device model. Students in grades K1 now have iPads in an iPad cart model. This means that the devices stay in the classroom but can be shifted to go home at any given time. Our students in 2nd through 12th grade continue to use Chromebooks, iPads, or some of them choose to bring their own device to school to make certain that they are highly engaged in learning. For those students who were in need of internet access, we were continued to be able and expand our ability to provide hotspots to students and families. And most recently, we rolled out an app called Talking Points for our multilingual learners, for families, to make sure that they are engaged. This is an app that actually immediately translates to a preferred language. Finally, we purchased an app called CatchOn, which is allowing our system to be more efficient by evaluating our ecosystem, monitoring our financial choices, and helping to provide data when making decisions around professional development and technology implementation. You'll see here on the chart that Edina taxpayers receive a good value for their investment. We are in the middle at levy levels, yet provide outstanding service to our students, our families, and our teachers. Our current niche ratings are amazing. 100%, 9 out of 9 of our schools have earned a rating of A or higher. Our high school is an amazing space to be for kids, and Niche ranks our high school as the #1 best college prep high school in the state of Minnesota, 4 years running. And we have 1,287 high schools in the state of Minnesota. That is an amazing stat. We have an A+ overall. We have an A+ for our teachers, our clubs and activities, sports, health and safety, and we are the #3, without a lot of focus on this, the #3 STEM high school in the state. And all of this is because of our outstanding staff. Our teachers are, bar none, the best teachers that we have in the state here. I'm just going to highlight some of our staff here because our staff are consistently awarded for their efforts and their specialties that they bring to the district. Southview Middle School Assistant Principal Dr. Tammy Jo Cook has been named to the Special Olympics National Education Leaders Network. She is among just 24 national leaders in special education, research, educational leadership, and Special Olympics included in the newest NELN cohort. Jeff Jorgensen, he's our Director of Student Support Services. He was named Administrator of the Year by the Minnesota School Psychologists Association. The Edina Human Rights and Relations Commission annual Tom Oy Human Rights Award was given to Saili Amara Purkar, who is a cultural liaison, South Asian cultural liaison. And our very own Ryan Longley, who is a biology teacher at the high school, was named an Educator of Distinction by the National Society of High School Scholars. Excellence is thriving in Edina Public Schools. I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about the excellence in our schools, and I'm going to start with our Early Learning Center. Our Edina Early Learning Center was awarded the Parent Aware 4-star rating. Programs who have earned 4 stars are acclaimed as excelling at use of kindergarten readiness best practices, and we are proud that our Edina Learning Center has earned this designation for 6 years in a row. To earn this designation, several areas stand out, including having highly qualified and trained leadership, teachers, and providers, in giving families the opportunity to provide feedback, making accommodations for students with special needs, and encouraging healthy living, nutrition, and physical activity, along with ways for evaluating and setting growth. From the time that our students enter our system, they are entering into a space of excellence. Elementary excellence is abound. I was talking to an individual where we were talking about all of the great experiences that our students are having in outdoor learning at our Highlands Elementary. I love being out in our schools. For those of you who don't know, I am on Twitter. And if you are on Twitter, you need to follow me at Dr. Stacy Stanley, because you will be able to partake in all of the great things that are happening as I'm out in schools. I have been in math classrooms where the level of curiosity and rigor was absolutely astounding, and that's coming to you from a math teacher. I have been in the Media Literacy Center where students were utilizing their skill sets with digital literacy to create actual projects that were related to Google Space. Of course, we know that we have our French immersion school, and we know that our board approved to add a Spanish dual language immersion pathway. Our students give back to our community all the time. You saw the students that were on the screen there for Feed My Starving Children, and they're giving back with tutoring their younger peers. It is just amazing to watch them. We have incredible middle school excellence. So in middle school, our students are able to take a standard pathway, which is incredibly rigorous in and of itself, and they're able to take a compacted pathway for both math and science. This allows them to move more quickly through the math pathways, the science pathways, and ensures that when they are in high school, they are now taking college-level courses. That doesn't happen everywhere. World language opportunities. Our students have the opportunity to learn French, Latin, Chinese, and Spanish in our middle schools. And our STEM programming, science, technology, engineering, and math, The students are engaged in projects in the fabrication lab. They are working with 3D printing. They are coding. They have robotics. I was in one day at Southview, and they were doing an investigation around physics, and the joy to see in their eyes for just being so excited about the active learning just warmed my heart. Our high school is a comprehensive high school. We offer over 140 classes. It is a community where every student can find their niche and thrive. We engage students with a partnership through Edina Rotary. We call it Edina Rotary Global Scholars. These are our students are engaging with students from all over the world. They are working on projects that are helping to prepare them to be high-quality global citizens. We offer incredible AP class experience, more AP experiences than any other high school in the state. And we want to make certain that our students are well-rounded. We have 5 state championships. I say we probably have another one coming. A little competitive that I am. Our students engage in incredible leadership opportunities. I have a superintendent student leadership team at both of our middle schools and our high school. And the thought process that they put toward supporting their peers, toward their efforts in really digging into and understanding the impact that the pandemic has had on mental health is absolutely amazing. So, last year, we had 1,141 students take AP exams. 77% of them earned a 3 or higher qualifying score, which qualified for college credit. Our high school administered 2,248 AP exams, twice as many as any other high school in the state administered. Now, we know that is great. And we know that that is incredibly important, but this is what I want to say. This is the impact of that for our community members as well. Last year, we had 1,661 exams earn college credit. For students who wanted to stay in Minnesota, that meant that students saved in a public college setting over $500,000. In a private college setting, on average, nearly $1 million was saved toward tuition, something to be incredibly proud of. We also offer college in the schools. So these are classes that are taught by teachers who have to have master's degrees, right? We have some of the greatest level of master degreed teachers in the state. These are courses that are offered through the U of M. They're offered through Bemidji State. Students enroll in PSEO, post-secondary education options. 10 students earned college credit for Latin. We had 72 students earn college credit through Bemidji State for math courses, accelerated advanced math courses and calculus. We had 77 students earn college credit for engineering courses. What happens is when our students make it to college, this just opens the door for them to take all the more classes. And for those of you who can remember back to that bachelor's experience, you know, your undergrad experience, it was all about getting in as many classes and being as well-rounded and grounded as possible. Last year, in spite of a pandemic, in year 2 of a pandemic, 7 Hornets earned perfect ACT scores. Our community partnerships are so important. We know that we have a strong relationship with Edina Education Fund, and Edina Given Go. Last year, Edina Education Fund and each of you who contributed to Edina Education Fund contributed nearly $500,000 into our school system. Made such a difference with mental health, with STEM programming, with tutoring for students, and with literacy. We have a huge focus on literacy. When I came in to Edina Public Schools, I wondered what it would be like for students whose families did not have a lot of money in their pocketbook. And on day 2, I was contacted by Edina Given Go. I was contacted by Christina. She wanted to let me know about an organization that was specifically founded to make certain that our students whose families have lesser amount of money in their pocketbook and their accounts would be able to thrive in Edina Public Schools. Last year they contributed nearly $300,000 toward making certain that our students were able to have high-level tutoring that would prevent them from having a significant impact with learning loss during the pandemic. So the last thing that I'm going to highlight is our district excellence. We are in a fabulous place, and we are moving forward with some very innovative ideas. I mentioned that our board actually approved moving toward a 2-way Spanish immersion program. We will start kindergarten in the fall. This pathway will run through Countryside, and we're waiting for Countryside to have additional classrooms built on. But in the meantime, we are having an incubator of a couple of classrooms at the Early Learning Center area, in district office area. And we opened enrollment. The class is filled right away, and we have 55 students who are waiting on a wait list to get in. We are moving forward with marquee STEAM programming in our elementary schools. I talked about the amazing STEM programming that we have at our middle, at our high school, and now we are moving so that we will have a comprehensive E12 STEAM program that will add the arts into the science, technology, engineering, and math. Dr. Randy Smazel is leading these efforts in developing and formalizing this process that will ensure that our students are immersed in high-quality science, hands-on math activities throughout their day. And finally, we are a comprehensive K-12 online school. This year, we had our Edina Virtual Pathway at our elementary school. It is a multi-age program, meaning if you are in first grade and you are reading at a fourth grade level, there is nothing that is going to stop you from soaring. We meet the students and personalize the learning where we are at. So I have a vision that our graduating class of 2027, every one of our students, regardless of whether or not they're serviced with an IEP through special education, regardless of whether or not their families speak English as their first language at home, regardless of whether or not they are destined to go to Yale or Harvard, each and every one of our students will leave our school doors with a micro-credential, with an industry certificate, having had an apprenticeship or an internship. We are really excited as we were invited to apply for a youth skills training grant from the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. This was initiated by 2 of our high school teachers. This brings together our business partners with classroom teachers to support students in future-ready experiences. With the Youth Skills Training Grant, students are paid an hourly wage while they are in an internship. This is great for students who go on to four-year because they are able to earn a solid wage during that time, and it's fantastic for students who want to take a gap year or want to go directly into entrepreneurial experiences because they have that workforce experience that they can speak to right away. This provides all of our students with the ability to apply their learning in a classroom context. I was just speaking with our fire chief, and we're looking at how we get him signed on for this. And so we're really excited about that. So, the state of Edina Public Schools is solid. We continue to define excellence, and our upcoming language, STEAM, and online pathways programming will allow us to innovate and elevate our excellence. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Stanley, and thank you for joining our team at Edina. It's now my honor to introduce our next speaker, Mayor James Hovland. Jim has been on the City Council in Edina since 1997. He served in that role until 2005 when he was elected to be mayor, and he has been mayor ever since that time. He is the longest serving mayor in Edina's history. He serves as, not just as mayor, he serves as co-chair of the Regional Council of Mayors, chair of the Municipal Legislative Commission, chair of the Transportation Advisory Board to the Metropolitan Council, vice chair of the U.S. Conference of Mayors Standing Committee on Transportation and Communications. He's also a member of the leadership team at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, the Southwest Light Rail Transit Corridor Management Committee, and also a member of Greater MSP Partner Advisory Board, and he's been on the Edina Community Foundation Board of Directors for over 2 decades, and he's also an active member of the Edina Morningside Rotary Club. All right. So he's really, Mayor Hovland is really a leader among mayors, and it's good for him and it's good for Edina, and it's my pleasure to introduce him to give our State of the City. Jim.
Yeah, before we get started, thank you everybody for being here. What a great turnout. With getting COVID in the rearview mirror, it's nice to see everybody's face and talk to them face to face and actually understand what they're saying to you. And as you get older, that gets to be more of a challenge. I want to tell you a story that I got last night in the form of an email from a resident of our community, lives in the country club neighborhood. She said that her partner, who is, I think, I recall in his early 50s, had some chest pain. And they thought, well, maybe we should drive over to the hospital, maybe not. And they decided to call our 911 number, our 911 dispatch. By the time our emergency medical technicians got there from the fire department, he was in full cardiac arrest. They saved his life, and she was writing about that experience. And I haven't sent this to Chief Salami yet. I don't know if Scott Neal forwarded the email on to you, but she said all of her friends said, boy, that was lucky. And she said, you know, there was nothing lucky about it. She said, we moved into a town where they care about things like this and they think about things like this. And she's right, that we have residents in our community who say, we want our own dispatch center because it might help somebody get there a couple minutes quicker. And we got people working for us in our community that care about our community, and that's important. We want to have our own firefighters and emergency medical people cross-trained and being able to react quickly. That's why we ended up with this $6 million piece of equipment, this mobile operating room. That's the first of its kind in the country. And so for this person, she had it correctly diagnosed. She said, there is nothing lucky about it. I'm fortunate and grateful I moved into a town where they think about this kind of thing in advance and are prepared to do something about it, and the residents will support it. So give yourselves all a big round of applause for that story. And then a couple other things before we get going. City council members, would you stand up, please? Ron and Carolyn, and James couldn't be here with us, I guess. But I want to have Mary Brindle and Bob Stewart stand up, too. Had served us so well. Gone from the council, but not forgotten. If you've got a great idea for a volunteer project that you want somebody to work on, call Mary. And if she thinks it has any merit, she'll go to work on it full tilt and help you, just like she's been doing for 40 years in Edina. She's really the consummate volunteer in the city of Edina. Thanks, Mary. And then Melissa, would you come up, please, for a minute? This is a chance to kind of celebrate you a little bit. When the courts decided to redistrict, Melissa ended up living in a part of Edina that's involved in the district that's now in St. Louis Park, and so there's 2 senators in the same district. Come on up here. And so instead of moving into the new district that's been created, District 50, Melissa has decided that she's going to retire. And this is really not good for our city. We've got to figure out how we're going to deal with her absence over there, because she was just elected minority leader for the Democratic Party, and now faced with the situation of running against a 20-year senator in St. Louis Park. It was a very, very difficult decision for her and her family. So I want to just give you a minute to express anything you want to express. If you don't want to right now, fine. But thank you for all the service you've given our community. Yeah.
I'm just getting a little emotional right now. I remember meeting Mayor Hovland when he came to my house, and I was a regular resident asking for community input on a project that involved our neighbors, and that relationship has blossomed, and I couldn't be more proud to not only serve our city, but to work with so many dedicated public servants and business community. And I'm sad to put a pause on representing all of you. It's been an honor and a privilege, but I always say I'm not done. I told Dr. Stanley I'll be more active in the schools now. As an active parent of a 5- and 6-year-old, one of them who is going to the Spanish program and the other one is in the French program. I have been so lucky to live here. I do think I'm lucky to live here. I'm originally from Puerto Rico and came here for graduate school at the University of Minnesota Humphrey Institute, and married into a Minnesotan boy from Little Falls, Minnesota, and ended up having my roots here in Edina. And I couldn't be prouder and happier to live in a community that cares so much about each other, but also about the entire state. And the work I've been doing in the state legislature is not going to end without an election certificate. I'm going to continue to work on that. We all should, whether it's public safety or education or business environment. We are so privileged to live in a great state, and it takes all of us. It takes a team to keep that going. So I just want to say thank you to all of you, whether you voted for me or not. To those who call me literally at 7:45 in the morning regularly or text me, I will still pick up your calls whether I have SEN before my name or not, and I will always help my neighbors, because that's what we do. And I'm so thankful to be part of this, and I apologize for taking more time, but I just want to say thank you to all of you who serve our communities. Thank you.
Then I want to have all the school board members stand up again, please. You know, this whole COVID thing has created some challenges around masking policy. When we put a masking policy in a couple of years ago in the city, we were the 3rd city in the state to do it. A lot of nasty emails were received, but it was the right thing to do at the time. The school district has done a remarkable job keeping kids in school the last year during COVID. And with this theme of one town, one family, you may have gotten wind of the fact that a few months ago we had a little disagreement maybe about masking. But I want to tell you all that, like any family, where you're in there together and you may have a squabble with your brother or your sister once in a while, it doesn't amount to anything, because at the end of the day, you care about each other and you love each other and you know they're doing a great job. So for all you folks on the school board, we're with you. We all got the same goal in mind, and we care deeply about you, both from the work that you do and personally as well. You all know that. So thank you. Thank you. All right, so we know the world came together last month to watch the 2022 Winter Olympics, with people all over the globe cheering for their country's athletes competing in Beijing. The overarching theme of this year's games was one world, one family. As COVID declined, it represented the reunion of people from all over the world. Throughout the games, there was a common thread of international unity and togetherness during a time in the world that is filled with fear and uncertainty, especially surrounding the coronavirus pandemic, and then the most recent troubles for the world that's manifested in the Republic of Ukraine. I looked up here today and I saw the blue and the gold, so close to the blue and the yellow from Ukraine. Looked on my watch this morning on my Fitbit, it was yellow and gold, or yellow and blue. And I just wanted to have us take just a moment to think about the people of the Republic of Ukraine and give them our best thoughts and prayers. You know, with all of the 109 medal events completed, the Olympic organizers held one final celebration on February 20th as they closed out the games and passed the torch to the next country, which is Italy. The finale was a dazzling fireworks display. This year's pyrotechnics ended with the Olympics logo in the sky and the phrase, "One world, one family." We've got a video on that now that Jennifer's going to show us. In that same spirit, we come together as one town, one family in Edina. You heard Dr. Stanley share some information on the important work Edina Public Schools is doing to educate our community's children. And Dr. Stanley, it feels like you've been here forever, which is a wonderful compliment. And thank you for being such a great friend so fast and such a great person to work with. And if you see her get up to leave, it's not because of me or the content. She has an important meeting in the Bay Area with some other superintendents of schools that are our peer groups. And they're going out there to meet about some of the things that are important in the field of education. So if you have to leave early, that's fine. Don't worry about it. So in the rest of our time together, I'm going to share with you some information about what the city has been doing around this theme that we're talking about today. So first of all, let's discuss some of the federal assistance received by the city of Edina. Since March of 2020, the city has worked to adapt its services and programming to reflect the changing public health situation due to COVID-19. We've also worked during that time to protect our residents and support our businesses. In 2020, the federal relief that we got through the CARES Act was used in Edina to provide emergency rental assistance and small business loans, purchase personal protective equipment for employees, and outfit employees to come to be able to work from home, among other things. And these funds were also used to support our city operations. The city was next allocated more than $4.9 million as part of the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, as it's known. And half of that money has been received, so we received about $2.4 million. The other half will be distributed by the federal government to the city this year. And I think it has to be used by the end of 2024. The money is meant to provide relief from COVID-19 pandemic to cities across the nation and boost the economy. The city must spend the ARPA funds on 7 broad priorities: support public health response, address the negative economic impacts caused by the pandemic, serve the hardest hit in a community, replace lost public sector revenue, provide premium pay for essential workers, invest in water and sewer infrastructure, and invest in broadband infrastructure. Because a good portion of the CARES Act funding was used internally for city operations, we were very, very intentional about spending ARPA funds externally or out in the community. The plan includes food, aid, and rental assistance as a form of direct assistance to people in need. We're working with volunteers enlisted to assist people, or VEEP, as you probably all know it, to receive money from the city and provide that assistance on both a food security and housing security level. Financial aid will be provided directly to small businesses through our new Technical Assistance Program, or TAP, which is a subset and a model we followed from Hennepin County, which Commissioner Latendresse had a large part in. We also have given grants of $100,000 each to the 50th and France Business Association and also to the Edina Chamber of Commerce to help with their small business activities. As you all know, the number one challenge, and you heard me talk about this before, the number one challenge for cities in the state of Minnesota has been mental health. We're pleased to report that the Edina Police Department social worker program for mental health assistance has been expanded and community health software has been upgraded. Hennepin County social worker Donna Nelson, who we have been sharing with another police department, is now embedded full-time in our police department. With mental health being the number one issue affecting cities across the state, we're pleased to have Donna with us on a full-time basis. And I think it's been remarkable what we've been able to achieve with a combination of social workers and our police force in dealing with some of the issues affecting our community, especially during this time of COVID and all the mental health challenges that people are facing. During the pandemic, even in Edina, some people and families in our community had inadequate broadband coverage to subsidize. You heard Superintendent Stanley mention this. To subsidize access to home broadband for residents, we worked with Comcast on their Internet Essentials program and committed $500,000 to set aside to provide people in our community, families that needed the assistance, with better and faster internet services. To date, more than 100 households have signed up to receive free internet through the end of the year. Those households are all over our community. In fact, they are in 29 different neighborhoods. And as you know, this has been especially important to our children who have been going through this virtual or hybrid learning experience. Also under a plan approved by the City Council, 1,000 trees will be planted on public and private property this year as a mitigating response to climate change. Many of the trees will be planted in and around multifamily housing areas that presently lack trees. We call this our Next Gen Trees program, as Edina's next generation will benefit most from those trees. We will begin a process next month to determine how to best spend the other half of our ARPA funds. We will have virtual meetings at noon on Tuesday, April 26th, and again at 7 p.m. on Thursday, April 26th. We will have an in-person meeting 4:30 Wednesday, April 27th at the Hughes Pavilion at Centennial Lakes Park to get public input on how we should use this next $2.45 million. Please think about participating in these meetings, either online or in person, so that you can provide your feedback on what we should be doing with this next tranche of American Rescue Plan funds. Next, we're going to talk about some of the issues that we've been working on around housing affordability, and I'm pleased that Stephanie Hawkinson, our affordable housing manager, is with us today. Stephanie, do you want to stand up quickly? Where are you? She was here. Well, she was here. Maybe she had to leave. To make Edina a community for all, the city has been focusing on creating a strategy around housing affordability. It's been estimated by the Met Council that we're going to need 1,800 such units by 2030. In our community, Edina residents have been calling for a preservation of the smaller, more affordable homeownership opportunities that present themselves. We see it in the quality of life survey that our residents participate in. Additionally, our residents have expressed concern over the teardown of livable, small, and modest homes and being replaced with much larger luxury homes. Some residents have also expressed that they are thinking of selling, but do not want to sell to a developer or would rather ensure their home is occupied by a family. Houses that meet the given criteria, single-family homes with an assessed value of up to $425,000, can be purchased by the city under existing Housing and Redevelopment Authority programs, including our HRA's partnership with the Homes Within Reach program to keep them affordable. We call this our Housing Preservation Program. So far, the West Hennepin Affordable Housing Land Trust has sold 4 of the houses for us, and a 5th is on the market as part of our Housing Preservation Program. We also have preserved 2 with the Met Council's Metro HRA buying, rehabbing, and renting program that they have for families. We also have a new first-generation homebuyer program in partnership with the Edina Housing Foundation. Minnesota ranks, as many of you know, as one of the worst in the nation for the disparity between home ownership by white households and BIPOC households. Among other benefits, this new program helps make the dream of home ownership and the ability to gain wealth through owning a home more achievable to households that have been historically excluded. The First Generation Homebuyer program is open to individuals and families who have never purchased a home before and whose parents or guardians also did not own their home. Condominiums, townhouses, and single-family houses are eligible for the program with a purchase cap of $425,000. An augmentation to the existing Come Home to Edina second mortgage program, the First Generation Homebuyer program provides an additional $15,000 third mortgage at 0% interest. The note is forgivable at a rate of $1,000 per year of ownership and completely forgiven after 15 years following purchase. I'm pleased to report that since launching this program in late 2021, we already have closed on 2 first-generation mortgages. You know, we're renowned for our single-family neighborhoods and the beauty of those neighborhoods and the quality of the housing stock. But what we discovered over time is that in many of those neighborhoods, there were discriminatory covenants embedded in the title in decades gone by. The map you see up there is one that was prepared by the University of Minnesota. Last year, the city joined what is called the Just Deeds Project to help homeowners with free legal and title services to allow them to renounce discriminatory covenants from their property titles that were placed there generations ago. When this work was done by the University of Minnesota, it was discovered that there were approximately 2,800 households or properties in Edina that had these discriminatory deeds restrictions attached to them, involving either preventing people of color from purchasing property in certain neighborhoods or certain religious and ethnic groups from buying a house in certain of our neighborhoods and Minnesota neighborhoods on a broader basis. Up on the map, you can see that the red marks are for housing stock, and the blue marks are actually for city-owned properties that have these discriminatory covenants attached to them that we've been in the process of renouncing from a governmental standpoint. And we've had over, I'd say 10% of the houses in Edina, around 10% of the people have come forward for that free legal assistance to renounce those discriminatory covenants in their deeds. That was all made possible by a 2019 law passed at the Minnesota legislature to allow property owners to renounce these ethnically and racially type restrictions in their deeds. This was all started by the Golden Valley Human Rights Commission, which started the Just Deeds Project, which does provide free legal and title services to help property owners find covenants and discharge them from their property titles. If you want to check to see whether your property is subject to one of these discriminatory covenants, check the tool at bit.l-y/Edina racial covenants to see if a covenant was found on your property. If one exists, you can hire your title company to discharge it from your property deed. The fees will vary. Those who are interested in free services to renounce a discriminatory covenant should fill out the Just Deeds interest form on the city's website, and we'll help you out. We've also been doing work during COVID on some of our race and equity work plan. As many of you know, the city is nearing completion of its initial race equity implementation plan. This is work that began in 2018. And it was based on the recommendations of a community task force that was led by our city council colleague James Pierce and another resident named Jesse Kingston. That task force came up with the idea of having goals for accountability and data collection, city facilities and services, employee training and diversity, development and enforcement of policies and communications, community engagement as it related to city operations. Our work in this area is ongoing. Today, each city department has its own race and equity goals to foster a community that is welcoming and inclusive to all who live, work, and spend time in the community. And that is ever more reflective of our ever more diverse community. Next, we're going to talk about our climate action plan work that we've been doing. Is Grace Hancock with us today? We hired a terrific young woman that is working on our sustainability efforts, who was a really great guiding force in the adoption of this community action plan that we implemented. And it's one of the most significant actions the City Council has taken within the last year. Carolyn Jackson from our council was on the Energy and Environment Commission when this work began, and she's been a real booster of this plan and its implementation. And Carolyn, I thank you for that. It's wonderful that you're such an ardent supporter of this. And I've got to say, we've had tremendously broad community support on this climate action plan. It provides for actions to support achieving increased climate resilience, reductions in local greenhouse gas emissions, and further advancement of the city's sustainability goals. Besides planting the next-gen trees that I alluded to this year, the city will increase its use of compost in street reconstruction projects, divert organics from landfills, and employ an electric vehicle action plan that increases public access to chargers and removes barriers to EV use in Edina. The city has also joined Xcel Energy's partners. Michelle Swanson is with us today from Xcel Energy. Michelle, raise your hand. We've joined with Xcel. Thank you for being here. And Xcel is Partners in Energy program to establish and promote a residential energy efficiency or renewable energy program. Edina homeowners are eligible for a discounted or free visit by the Home Energy Squad. The Energy and Environment Commission is also working on a revised residential tree planting and preservation ordinance. Those are just a few of the dozens of actions the city will take in 2022. In all, the Climate Action Plan will include 200 actions that can be taken in Edina to meet its climate goals by 2030. The city's greenhouse gas emission reduction goals are to be compatible with the 2015 Paris Agreement, and we intend to meet that goal. The city will target a reduction in its operations and community-wide emissions by 45% below 2019 levels and achieve net zero emissions by 2050, which is the same thing that Xcel Energy is hoping to achieve. Goals are arranged under the categories of transportation and land use, transportation being the biggest contributor to greenhouse gases, water and wastewater, building and energy, local food and agriculture, green space and trees, climate health and safety, and climate economy. Let's next talk about some of the organics recycling work that we've been doing. And I think as many of you that have been participating in this program know, including our household, where we've discovered that we have very little garbage anymore because it's mostly compost. Organics recycling has been one of the easiest ways that anyone can participate in achieving our sustainability goals. In Minnesota and within the metro area, more than 30% of the materials we toss into the garbage is made up of organic material. Those materials have value to all of us, and their diversion from the landfill is a fundamental strategy to better waste management. Organics recycling directs food waste from the trash to be fully recycled into compost and is effective in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Since the residential organics recycling program began in Edina, almost 2,000 tons have been diverted from the landfill. That's about the equivalent of 6 giant 747 jumbo jets worth of material that has been composted and then returned to the city of Edina in the form of material that can be used in gardens. And I hope many of you have picked up those free bags of compost material over the past year when we've had that distribution. This year we are working to expand the program into Edina's multifamily housing properties and make our sustainability processes acceptable to all. And then last on the agenda today, I want to talk a little bit about public safety. I know it's something that's been of concern to everybody. You know, I think all of us on the city council, and Ron Anderson has written about this early on when we started having some difficulty with an increase in vehicle-related crime. This aspect of public safety, the public health, safety, and welfare, what could be a greater responsibility for anybody that serves as a government official than being responsible to maximize public health, safety, and welfare? And everybody on our council, everybody that's involved at the city has that same attitude. And the safety of our community is one of the top reasons people move here. It's second only to location and convenience in the school system. In our most recent quality of life survey, out of everything government does, public safety consistently ranked at the top. Unfortunately, Edina has been reflective of state and national trends during the pandemic. Vehicle-related crimes, including auto theft cases in Minnesota, in Edina in particular, have more than doubled in the past few years. 34 such reports were filed. Last year, there were 77. Other nearby communities are experiencing similar increases in vehicle-related crimes. In 2018, there were 3,000 auto thefts reported in Hennepin County. Last year, they reported 6,000, as you can see from the chart. Also last fall, we saw several residential burglaries with vehicles stolen from garages. Suspects in previously stolen autos traveled into Edina and targeted open garages and stole vehicles. We've also had people trying to forcibly take vehicles. We've had that happen on 3 different occasions where we've had attempted carjackings. In all 3 of these attempted carjackings in Edina, the suspects arrived in vehicles that had previously been stolen. Unfortunately, carjacking and auto thefts across the metro show no signs of slowing down. The offenders travel across city borders and county lines. This is not just an Edina issue, it is a regional and statewide issue. You know, one of the attempted carjackings we had up in Country Club that was foiled, one of the people involved was a 12-year-old girl. And so we're trying to figure out, you know, what are we going to do about this, both from a short-term stop the crime, get this crime tamped down issue, but also the long-term strategy around crime reduction. This recent uptick in vehicle-related crime has received so much attention from local and state elected officials, and that's why Edina, we helped organize an extended session of the Regional Council of Mayors monthly meeting in January out in Eden Prairie to discuss a response to this increase in vehicle-related crimes across the region. We were fortunate we had Mike Freeman there from Hennepin County, and we also had John Choi there from Ramsey County. We had the sheriff from Hennepin County there. We had somebody from the state there, the Department of Corrections. We had a great turnout of about 150 people at this discussion in Eden Prairie. So it was actually put together by your mayor and then the mayor of 4 other cities plus the city of Minneapolis. We wanted to bring this to a broader audience. We immediately got a hold of the governor, and I think maybe possibly most of you saw within the past few weeks a release by the governor that he's going to allocate funds for cities across the state to deal with crime on a local basis because he thinks that's the way it can best be dealt with. And we'll be the recipient of some substantial monies there, I think approaching $1 million in the city of Edina to do the work that we need to do on some of these criminal activities. So as we had the meeting in Eden Prairie, Hennepin County Mike Freeman committed to building closer relationships with the county's police chiefs. And that was an important thing to do because I think the police chiefs across the county in the various cities were feeling like they weren't having their voices heard. One of the things that was important to be heard and we were successful on was the fact that on the county attorney's no bail list of 19 items where no bail is required if you are alleged to have committed this type of a crime, at the top of the list was auto theft. So when you think about somebody stealing a car and being turned out right away without having to post bond, that was something that we really had some heart-to-heart conversations with Mike about, and he decided to take it off the no bail list. So kudos to Mike Freeman for reacting to what I think was led by suburban mayors was a request to get that auto theft off the no bail list. There's some other things on there. Yeah, thank you. And I'm sure at the board level, Commissioner Latondras and his colleagues were instrumental in talking about some of these issues as well. So Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman has formed up this group, he calls it Minnesota Heals 2.0. That's an acronym for Hope, Education, and Law and Safety. This had its origination in 1997 when we had this spate of actually murders in Minneapolis, and the New York Times called it Minneapolis, Murderapolis. You remember that? And as this group of folks formed that were from the faith community, from the nonprofit community, from the business community, from the public sector, and figured out a strategy on how to tamp down the number of homicides with a great deal of success. So Mike Freeman told us he believes there are real lessons to be taken from that earlier success, and he's asked me to serve on that organizing group on this initiative of MN Heals 2.0, and I've agreed to do that. We had our first meeting last month, and now we need to think about I think we need to expand that group somewhat. I had a call one day with former African-American legislator named Jeff Hayden, who served the near south side of Minneapolis when Lake Street burned. He wasn't reelected, but he's working with a lot of troubled youth up in North Minneapolis, and he told me a lot of these kids have never seen anything in nature. They've never been outside that 56 square block area of North Minneapolis. And every day from the time you're 5 or 6 years old, you wake up scared. and you think about what's going to happen to you that day. And of course, as you get older, then you've got choices that you've got to make. And so some of them are really difficult. And you said, we got to get these kids to camps. We got to get them out in nature. A lot of them never seen a cow. And so I think there's a great opportunity here to work with the faith community across the metro to put together an organization or an informal organization that starts getting a lot of these kids to camps and other activities where they see that there's other things that are to be appreciated, and maybe give them some faith and confidence that they might not otherwise have from being in some difficult neighborhoods. I will tell you that the Edina Police Department is also working hard to make sure that crime is contained in our city. We are working to deploy a portable license plate readers. These mobile devices will alert our officers when an active stolen vehicle drives by. We hope the use of this technology will help prevent and solve auto thefts and carjackings. Edina Police Chief Todd Milburn is also testifying now in support of a bill going through the legislature to leverage state investigative resources to aid in adding real-time investigators to provide resources in the field, assisting with identifying regional repeat offenders, and coordinate and prepare comprehensive multi-jurisdictional cases involving repeat offenders for criminal charging decisions. I don't know if any of you were here when we had the meeting at Edina Country Club several months ago now after that first attempted carjacking at the Lund's Byerly's parking lot, but Chief Milburn was here. He's only been here a short while when he's had to face all kinds of interesting issues. Those 29 years up in the northern suburbs, up in Brooklyn Park, served him really well, and has served us well. He's a wonderful communicator with the public. He's a first-rate policeman. He's a great leader for his troops, if you will. And we've been really fortunate to have him be hired by Scott Neal as our city manager. And Todd, thanks for being here with us. And many of you know Jeff Alaski, who's been here in Edina for a couple decades, probably know Jeff, and now a lieutenant, and is just, he's been a wonderful supporter of Edina and a wonderful police officer for our city, and has had some difficult encounters in the past with criminals that he's handled himself with such courage and dignity. It's really been a pleasure to have you working on the force. Thanks, Jeff. And of course, as many of you don't know, we've had our new fire chief, relatively new fire chief, Andrew Slamas, come back to us from Savage, where he was the fire chief, but he's doing wonderful work for us as well. So Chief, stand up real quickly and wave your hand. He hasn't moved here yet, but we're working on it. His wife sells real estate down in Savage, and that's a tough thing to do, to get him to move when you've got your family embedded down in the community. But we're grateful to have him here. All of our public safety people are just first rate. And as you could hear our superintendent talk about the first-rate teacher she's got working for her, the people that we have working at a city staff level are first-rate as well. And we're really appreciative of the staff that you've hired and that you lead. And incidentally, as I look down at you, I know one of our former council members was critical of you in the newspaper, but I want to remind everybody that last year, many of us had the opportunity to go up to Duluth, where our city manager was chosen as City Manager of the Year in the state of Minnesota by his colleagues. So, Scott, stand up for that. I don't think he knew what to think when we walked in with his wife and kids. It was kind of stunning, but a well-deserved honor. So the 22 Winter Olympics theme, One World, One Family, was based on an ancient Chinese saying, which is, a truly wise person sees the whole world as a family. And I think we should email this right away to Putin. Vladimir Putin ought to think about this. A truly wise person sees the whole world as a family. When it comes to joining together to make our neighborhoods, our schools, our city, and our world better, one of the most important things we can do is to find out what we have in common and be curious about what we don't. When we share something with the people around us, no matter how small or insignificant it seems to us, it can help make connections and develop relationships we never realized we could develop. In this room today, there are people with differing political views, differing values, We all have different likes and dislikes. How you squeeze the toothpaste, how you hang the toilet paper on the hanger. What makes one person happy may upset another. But to keep Edina as a community, we all need to be together. We all need to work together. We need to call this one family, one home. We're proud to call it our home. And we must continue to engage in the respectful discourse that we've engaged in the past and celebrate each and every step of the way for our school district and our community. Respect and listening, making certain all voices are heard and all voices matter, will take us a very, very long way. Thank you for joining us today. And Scott Neal's going to come back up here now because we're going to have a little contest.
Okay, it's time for the Olympics. Participating in the Olympic Games for an athlete is one of the greatest honors they'll have in their life. And they spend so much of their time focusing on a niche, whether it's a niche sport or just a niche preparation that they have to do. They often don't get that chance to see the big picture until they arrive at the Olympics and become part of something bigger. They're part of something that unites the world, even if it's briefly. Everybody is equal, and the Olympics are really a reaffirmation of our shared humanity and our contribution to unity in the world. The Olympic Games cannot prevent war or conflicts, we know that, but they can be an example for a world where everyone respects the same rules and one another. And they can inspire us to solve problems and inspire friendship and solidarity. In that spirit, we offer you today a City Olympics. And we've got 3 teams here representing the state of the community sponsors, the Edina Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club of Edina Morningside, and the Rotary Club of Edina. So we...
Go team!
Thank you. It's time to get territorial right now. All that unity? Nah, we got it. All right. So let's meet our teams. The Edina Chamber of Commerce team. So I'm gonna tell you who they are. They should stand in place, and then when we'll move on to the next one, you can sit down. Michael Bilden, Minnesota State University. Meg Chido from Edina Realty, and Don Hutchison, retired advisor from Tufford Hughes. For the Rotary Club of Edina Morningside, we have Cheryl Gunnis. Cheryl? Yeah? All right. Paul Nelson from Donlar Construction. And Brandon Vital from Wells Fargo. Brandon? All right. Sit down. And now for the Rotary Club of Edina, we have Kelly Burnett from Burnett & Associates and American Family Insurance. There she is. Shelley Loberg from the Edina Chamber of Commerce and Explore Edina. And Skip Thomas from Remax Results. Congratulations. All right, so we have 3 different competitions today. They represent arts, academics, and athletics. Right, okay. Academics is our first contest. So would the academics competitors please come forward and stand like in this general area right here? Don's doing a little last minute prep. That's good. That's good.
Nice work.
All right.
This was academic, not athletic.
Okay, are you ready? So,
Sure.
I'm going to read a trivia question, and if you think you know the answer, you should raise your hand. The first person to raise their hand is the one who's going to get called on. By the way, we have these beautiful medals here. Okay. All right, the first question. On the screen is a rendering of a possible redevelopment of the former Public Works site on Eden Avenue, 5146 Eden Avenue to be exact. Which of the following elements is not included in that plan? A, senior housing, B, community center, C, restaurant, or D, public plaza? Paul Nelson? Yeah, Paul Nelson.
Community center.
Community center is the correct answer. There is no community center in that project. That's right. Well, the idea of a community center has been floated around for many years. It's not part of this plan. This plan includes a 6.5-story, 90-unit senior co-op housing project 173 underground parking spaces. 10% of those units will be marked for affordable housing. The project will also include a 2-story, 13,000 square foot restaurant in a green space public plaza with pedestrian walkways to a bridge that takes you to the municipal parking ramp on the other side of the railroad tracks. That's that. Question number 2, and there are 3 questions. Question number 2. On the November ballot, Edina voters will be asked to vote on a local option sales tax. What would the 0.5% sales tax be used for? A, completion of the Braemar Park Master Plan. B, Braemar Arena improvements. C, development of Fred Richards Park. Or D, all of the above. Paul Nelson.
D, all of the above.
It is D, all of the above. That's correct. Voters will get a chance to approve a local option sales tax on the general ballot in November. This year, it will provide funding somewhere around $70 million of funding, we hope, to cover a lot of different improvements at Braemar Park and also creating Fred Richards Park from a shuttered golf course. This investment plan's been in place for a long, long time, and it's now that residents are going to get a chance to authorize funding for it, so we're excited about that. Final question, question number 3. In recent years, we have seen France Avenue transform with several redevelopments. On the screen is a rendering of plans approved for Orion Investments, ESG Architects, and Mortensen Construction at what intersection in this development? You. Don.
Okay, me answer question.
Yeah.
70th and
70th and France is correct. That's correct.
All right, done.
This development this is the redevelopment of the 70th and France U.S. Bank site at 7001 and 7025 France. The existing office building and bank will be torn down and replaced with a 1-story, 6,500 square foot U.S. Bank building and a drive-through and a 24-story building with 270 apartments, a 6 or 7-story building with offices and retail, and an 8-level freestanding parking ramp and bike facility. And the winner of our academics portion, Paul Nelson. Second place, Don Hutchinson. And third place, Skip Thomas. Congratulations, academics. Our next competition is arts. Arts. At the beginning of today's presentation, our contestants were asked to draw a portrait of the mayor. Yeah, this is a high-risk arts project, high stakes. So it's now time to see their work. Contestants, will you please bring your portraits to the viewing stands, please? After these portraits are up, we're going to ask you to judge which one you think is the best. Oh, we are reveal. Yeah, go ahead. And put them on the tripod.
We can expose our pictures.
Oh yeah, yes. That's all though. All right. We're gonna do this by clap, right? So let's start with Cheryl's clap. How about that?
Yeah!
Cheryl Dennis, congratulations. All great work. Oh, second, Kelly Brunette. Third, Meg Chido. Congratulations, the bronze. Very good. Good work, everybody. We'll be keeping those around too. Yeah. Yeah, great work, great work. We copyrighted them all right now. Oh, this is not standing on one foot? Oh, okay. The final competition is athletics. And can we have the athletic participants come up? Right over here, please. This appears to be some kind of hula hoop competition. And so just remind, this is they start together and whoever is ready. Okay, all right. Ready, set, go. That was a warm up. That was a warm up. All right, now it's time for the real competition. On your mark, get set, go. My hips are too small. Okay. The clear winner, Mr. Vital Brandon. Reg, the silver to Shelley Lober. And the bronze. Right here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Be some nice clips of that. Congratulations, everyone, and just like the Olympics, when they're over, it's over. So thanks for coming today. We appreciate very much, and have a great day. Thank you, and welcome.